meeting family responsibilities. Jessica T. Healy Ellsworth, featured in the Church News, dreamed of becoming a doctor. Married in 1975, she began college when her youngest child entered junior high. Medical school when he turned 18. She served her medical residency at the age of 47. It was less demanding, she said, than being the mother of 3. She did not regret the delay, having avoided the guilty struggle between medicine and motherhood. Her husband sold his business to move with her to medical school and moved again for her residency. As he said, "She supported me when I was going to school." Mrs. Ellsworth said that mothers used to losing sleep had many good years left. If I could do it over again, I would do it exactly the same way. Going to school has always been my solution. I did not want to leave my children to work, and I needed something to think about while I rocked the cradle. I could take courses because my husband was a professor. We were always near a university. I was not that brilliant a student, but I was willing to suffer the humiliations and the miseries, and there were many, of being a student again for that exposure to the wisdom of the ages and the sense that I was making some progress. I felt that going to school was legitimate because in an emergency, I could miss class or hand in a paper late, and no one would suffer but me. If I'd been employed, I would have suffered terrible conflicts of responsibility. School was vital for me for many years. It gave me an escape, as well as something to escape from. It made housework a pleasure. I was glad to make cookies or sew Easter dresses or read stories. All those things became more desirable. To have interests outside of childcare or housework doesn't necessarily mean being a career woman. There's lots of space between being a devoted stay-at-home mom and being an executive of Fortune 500 company. Mothers are encouraged to raise their own children, but a woman has years before, years after, and even years during children when she can write or read something or something else. We don't have to milk our cows, stoke our coal stoves, or spin our wool unless we want to. Even with many children, there's time for choices and compromises. What do we choose to do besides what is required? As a lazy daughter of another age, I still marvel that women think they find freedom in working rather than staying at home with their children, where they have free time and some control over how to spend it. But I've come to believe that a woman should never give up on her outside interests, no matter how weary she is or how pruned her life seems to be during the heavy years of childcare. She should always keep one foot in her own life. It is true that we hear an awful lot about family and marriage in our church. There's no question that this is hard on the single women who have very little choice in our society about whether to be married or not. But I look at the blitz about families as a defensive strategy. The church preaches home, marriage, and family, not because they are the norm, but because they are the rapidly diminishing ideal. The nuclear family with the breadwinner father, the stay-at-home mother, and the children now accounts for less than a quarter of the population of the United States. Our leaders stress family life because they are all too aware of the casual divorce and abusive relationships, as well as extensive singlehood. I think that these talks are for the benefit of males who have not yet managed to get with the program. Unfortunately, the burden of all this talk about righteous family life comes down on the heads of our single sisters who listen harder and are more obedient anyway, who feel themselves judged and found wanting for not being married. But I think we keep stressing traditional family life because we are not succeeding. In the congregations in New York City, there are many beautiful, charming, intelligent, amazingly talented single women doing good things, taking their lives seriously. But at church every Sunday, they hear lessons about the glories of marriage. We have to recognize that these exceptions are becoming the mainstream. The world is changing, and so is the church. What is to be done about this? I say, let's have some benign neglect, some blindness to the marital state. Single women will have to solve their problems individually by making a strong connection with our Heavenly Father as working parts of the kingdom of heaven. But it would help if everyone in the ward was treated as an individual. In New York City, I have a single Relief Society president. A recent stake president of the primary was an unmarried woman. They have serious church jobs. But in our new organization, there are not enough jobs to go around, certainly not for women. We need imagination to create new positions, jobs with teeth and interest. I've been making up my own church jobs for years now. We need to help the church, help us to live vital lives. I see this phenomenon over a wide span because of my own family experience. My mother and grandfather and myself have all found a home in the church, a cause, a platform, willing helpers, a family. Our women have built their lives on church work. My grandmother on genealogy, my mother on music. Most of these jobs they devised themselves. But I'm also interested in new organization. How about a single woman's ward operating as a relief society with just a couple of priests to come in from time to time to fix the sacrament? We've had widows' wards for years. Why not some never-married ones? Women could easily manage their own organizations with administration, teaching, visiting, good works, and social lives. There would be many opportunities for friendship as well as meaningful church work. Women need encouragement and church opportunities to take their lives seriously. Issue the third. What is the role of feminism in the church? Peggy Fletcher Stack, the religion editor of the Salt Lake Tribune, wrote a piece a couple of years ago about feminism. She asked me what I thought, and I said that feminism was dead, that the word itself had become so frightening that the movement was now moribund, extinguished. That was strong talk. There's still many old, self-described LDS feminists around. Feminism has not been stamped out, but it has certainly gone underground. Groups of sisters continue to meet outside of church networks, providing some strength to the female LDS world. They gather for discussion and activity. Some have retreats or revivals. But this movement is of no danger to the church. It's not going anywhere. It's mostly mutual comfort for those who feel excluded in some way. I'm a feminist myself, and I doubt that many people would disagree with my definition of feminism, which is that the talents of women should be developed for the benefit of their communities, their church, their families, and themselves. And, so defined, our sprawling Relief Society is a feminist organization with a chapter in each congregation. There, Mormon women find emotional support and personal and spiritual growth. The Relief Society, even in its curtailed form, provides a network for us to know, to teach, and befriend each other. In Relief Society, we are encouraged to exercise that most important feminist strategy to reach beyond our patriarchal structure to a personal relationship with deity, through which we can discover our own personal revelation and destinies. The General Relief Society presidency aims to be accepting and inclusive. Church-wide Relief Society leaders preach the creation of a global sisterhood among their 4 million members, all of whom feel loved by God. They want LDS women to stop being judged for working or staying at home, being single, divorced, or childless. They want women to feel valued and supported and bolstered in life, not alienated and alone, to have an eternal perspective. I'd like to see more of this acceptance of women by women. I'd like to see women feel free to say the things they think and feel in Relief Society classes, and not be hushed or silenced when they deviate from the accepted script. Relief Society should be where we can